theme music though. do
Yes,
do.
I love it.
Like I'll hum it sometimes
I don't
myself.
get like heart palpitations from the baby crying.
It is. It's really wonderful that we lasted 7 years with a baby crying in our intro.
The one person called us, what was it? A gamer looks at 40 called us out on the third host. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. Like
Yeah.
shade.
They ran the chat bot, the chat GPT, and asked them what New Dad Gaming was, and chat GPT returned, "Oh, it's a fatherhood podcast that talks about fatherhood and gaming." And the three hosts, Trevor, Jeff, and Gavin, and a gamer looks at
Nice.
40, calls us out saying, "Who's Gavin?"
Who's this Gavin I've heard so much about?
Ghost
That's
character, ghost host, ghost writer.
Oh my god, Ghost Rider.
So it was one of those. Oh yeah. I guess that's out there. Yeah.
That was our man. That just happened coincidentally. That it happened just naturally. My brother's kids pulled up an episode. He pulled up episode 1,
Whoa. Okay.
and they're just like, it's like, wow, it's pretty. You guys are really young, and like, who's this third guy? He's a good friend. So just
You guys are pretty rough. I don't know what's going on.
he had the good sense to leave. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. He called it quits before 7 years later.
Very wisely.
Yeah.
Oh man, good man, good friend of the show. That's like, we'll have to figure out how to update the algorithm though. Gotta get more credit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We'll have to feed the AI some other answers, some context.
Handsome dads, Jeff and Trevor. We weekly show how wonderful parents they are.
That's right. Yeah. And just a model of fatherhood for all.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a great place to start it on. Because we are live. The adult beverages are poured. The kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
All right, we are going way back this week to. It's almost like Back to the Future.
Is
Because, because
Okay, yeah.
we are talking PSVR,
Yes.
and it's back to the old gaming days of Jeff and I when we both enthusiastically purchased our first version of PSVR.
That's right.
And we are in the midst of the current launch of the second PSVR 2. Big launch, rave reviews, it seems to be really great. It's hella expensive.
Yeah.
You could pick up, the best part is like for the entirety of it, including the PS5, you need to run it.
Yes.
Plus the thing itself, you can buy what, 4
You can
Valve?
have a mortgage payment.
You could have like 4 Steam Decks or 1 PSVR system.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, it's up there. It's almost $2,000 Canadian, probably around there.
Ugh. But it seems to be worth it. It's getting rave reviews. I'm still happy for it. That's great. Like I really like that there's like competition in the space, more games. Excellent. But it harkens back a bit to us because you brought out the 4 miles worth of cable required to set up your PSVR.
I did.
Brack from the Dead set it up. Like how did this come about? Why would you drag that thing out of the closet?
Yeah, I didn't do this willingly.
It wasn't a good time.
It wasn't. It wasn't great, but it has been weeks, and I haven't talked about it on the show because I didn't think it would happen. But it's been weeks that the kids have been asking me, we want to do VR again. And just the notion of VR with PSVR owners, there's a lot of cables. And I didn't complain at the time because like the stuff was kind of around, but this was all packed away. I think I actually like blew off dust off the headset
Wow.
to lug this thing out. And it was just, up and out of the way so the kids wouldn't accidentally run over it or whatever.
Of course.
But lugged all this thing out, lugged it upstairs because I'm like, downstairs has the PS4, but there's stuff here. And I don't feel comfortable like having this visor and you guys dancing around and breaking stuff. So we'll do it upstairs on the PS5. So, so there's cables and then there's an adapter for the PS5. So I don't know if people
Wow. So it's
managed to get the PS5 adapter, because if you didn't, I think PlayStation was giving it away for free. You just mail away for it, but it's this adapter that I couldn't find the bloody thing for the longest time, and it's the only thing that will make the camera work. Otherwise, the camera won't play nice, and which is then the headset does not play. right? So eventually found it. The kids are getting anxious because, why isn't this working right away? In
Why isn't
kid
this
land.
instant?
Exactly. Everything else is instant, Dad. Why isn't this? So eventually get it all set up. And I downloaded a whole bunch of games, right? I'm like, oh, they'll just get the whole suite of games because they took a lot of space. So I downloaded it all again, figured they want to kind of jump through a bunch of different games. No, Dad, they just want to play Beat Saber. So Beat Saber it is. And that's all they played. But they had a blast, man, just seeing them in there. And they're a little bit older since I first bought it. And they could, I don't know, they're more dexterity to it. Like they could handle the headset. I wasn't freaking out so much where, before I think my youngest was like 7 and like they were trying to put their thumbs where the lenses are. And, it would just like, no, I don't want your boogers all in the eyepiece. Like, let's stop. So they were a lot better with the headset. So I had a sigh of relief.
Okay.
It was good.
So yourself, did you get back into it? Like, did it kind of rekindle? Because we were, I don't want to say fanatical about it, but we really enjoyed the heck of those headsets.
Yeah.
I've since moved on to the Quest, having sold my PlayStation. Well, so having sold the PlayStation, I haven't seen letting my brother borrow the unit since.
Right.
Did it kind of rekindle it? Like, did you want to get back into it? And, when the kids are asleep, jump back into some virtual reality?
It's funny because when the kids went to sleep, I jumped back into virtual reality.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't kick my wife out. I asked my wife, do you mind if I play VR? Because it's like a performance, right? It's not like I'm there on the couch with a Steam Deck. This is like I'm standing up. I have the Move controllers. Like it is taking over the family room. So I asked if do you mind? And she went up to bed. So it's just me playing VR for a good 2.5 hours.
Wow.
And that's
Good
substantial,
session.
for, I guess, dad gaming, right? Like that's a long time. So I did a couple Beat Saber rounds. Like riding a bike. I was all about it. My Apple Watch was going off saying, hey, you're exercising, which is great.
Good for you.
But I had all these other backlog games and I did not know about. And one of them was Shadow Legend VR. And it's this, I think it's even on sale this week. It's like $9.
Okay.
And it's this medieval game. And it's got swords, archery. I think it's got magic in it at one point. But it is a cool looking game, right? You get into this thing, you're fighting like these weird zombie things, full, like you can chop arms off and heads off. I'm like, well, that's different. I thought that wouldn't happen in this kind of game. Just with like the nature of the physics behind it, I thought it would just be kind of a, crappily coded, put together game. But no, it was fun. The archery works awesome. Like you draw the arrow out of your back and you knock the arrow.
That's like, that was always like, it's one of the things that VR really when it showed the most promise. Is like that.
Yes.
Especially when they've done it well, and then like you draw it back and it's shaking a little bit as you go. You draw and you reach for it's either you reach for your sword on your belt or you reach for the archer in your back. Like that level of immersion was always so amazing. So that sucked you right in. That's amazing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the swords, but it asked you if you're left-handed or right-handed.
Nice.
And it would sheathe the sword on your left hip if you're right-handed, right? So you're literally crossing over and getting your sword, and your torch is in the other one. And all the save games and stuff are in a book that you bring out of your belt. So it's just like this. I was in there. I was like, why did I leave VR? I love this.
He's back, baby.
Yeah, it was just, and it's something that can't be sold on a 2D screen. Like you really have to experience it. So for PSVR 2 to come out in I think it's 3 or 4 days, it would be neat to have that experience again at just that kind of fidelity of what we kind of expect now. Also, to have one chord would be amazing to this story.
Yeah, no, the price feels like such a miss. Like it really puts it out of gaming dad reach. I feel like it's $700.
There's no way I could do $700 just straight out. It would have to be through some sort of points. I think I have Optimum points. We could buy it at the store here that takes coupons, basically.
The number of games you could buy in a year for $700 though.
I know.
It's just, I don't think it happens. I think basically find every possible giveaway
Yes.
that you can find and see if you can like squeak back in for another victory. Get one for free.
I agree. I will tag you on each one of those contests and we'll just see
Please,
what
sir.
we get.
Oh, we got that. So, moving right along to another. Well, actually, sorry. Let me give a call out to the audience. Everybody, thank you so much for the messages and comments this week. Awesome to hear from so many of you. Hey, listen, are you experiencing the PSVR 2? Has this rekindled? Has the thought of it just had you dust off the old PSVR 1 or any other gaming recommendations for VR for gaming dads? Would love to hear it. newdadgaming.com or at newdadgaming. Now, I don't know if you want to call this a dad oddity, but you have you have a heck of a tradition. You had alluded to it last week. And it
Yes.
stuck with me all week, and I wanted to hear about it. So there apparently is an annual playthrough of a game for you that you as a gaming dad, and it sounded like your kids might be involved. So it's like the
Yes.
annual tradition of something. How's this go about?
Yeah, this was something that was it jogged my memory because we had a tweet on our Twitter at New Dad Gaming. Gamer Graham, so GTM618, tweeted about their exposing their kids to Super Metroid. And that is something I play annually with my kids,
That's
and they want it. It's not like I spring this on them. They want to play it.
what a Christmas tradition. Oh, Papa, please dust off the old Metroid.
the Metroid, children.
Tell me this tale of the Metroid.
Yeah, well, we're talking about dusting off old hardware. This was one of those. You remember the Super Nintendo Classic Mini? Nintendo put out maybe like 10 of them, and
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, when you said mini, for some reason, my brain jumped to like the PS1 mini, which was just
Oh,
like a
right,
small.
right, yeah.
So I thought, was there a condensed version? But no, you're talking about the plug and play mini
Yeah.
console.
whatever
Hooking up to-
Nintendo decided to make money on that year. So that was, I had one of those, dusted that. I dust that one off every year, and we play Super Metroid all together. And it's one of those things that it's amazing, also frustrating that I still don't know where to go in this game.
Wait a minute. So you don't. So you can't. You still wouldn't know how to beat it if I just gave you the game.
I know how to beat it, but there's like those weird aspects to these old games where like there's one pixel or wall that I didn't hit right and it's not triggering, so then I'm stopped at that level, or I'm stopped at a wall that didn't open up. And my memory, being over 40 here, Trevor, I don't remember what I did before and what sequence.
It's like, oh, what is this? Oh, what's this nonsense? What am I supposed to do?
I'm telling you, I would never be able to be a speedrunner. I envy those people that can burn through the game and know exactly like the task list that they have to do and the list, like what order. But this one, like, again, we all have fun with it. My kids help me out with, where to go next. They have their phones and we'll Google around. But it's something that they love watching. They don't even want to play it. They just want to watch me do it. And that makes me feel great because I don't mind doing it.
It's win, win, win.
Yeah, but it's like one of those ones that, again, annually we'll play. So I don't know if there's something that you play annually or are thinking about. It'd be kind of a cool tradition.
I almost should, except that one thing I almost wondered if your kids were demanding to play it as opposed to watching you play it. I wonder if it would have as much, because there's a certain charm to the fact that it's like gather around and watch dad struggle through this, and then they they have their phones out and they're kind of doing it. And my kids are so hands-on at the moment with anything that we touch. I would wonder what I'd want to return to.
Right,
Jeez,
okay.
what?
It would have to be
can't-
multiplayer at that point. You're like, well, let's return to Lego.
Yeah, Lego again. Lego Star Wars again. I don't know that I have. I tended to move on fairly, not quickly, but I would always move on from games. There wasn't a game that I always like kept coming back and beating. It kept coming back and beating. It's more like did it, like check, and like let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
So it still makes for like a cool like I'd love it. Literally, even just for a Christmas thing too. It's like, and now that the Christmas turkey has been carved, we go to our usual gaming dad tradition of the great playing of Final Fantasy VII. Let's go.
That would, yeah, I'm telling you, it'd be a good tradition. Like, I still live by this soundtrack too. I listen to the soundtrack all. It's that nostalgia feely stuff, and to share that with.
Man, that feels like a good. I want to almost find something this year, so I will be giving that some
Okay.
serious thoughts. Gaming dads out there, do you have a game that you're constantly replaying, and have you introduced that to your kids as a cool gaming dad ritual?
Is it brainwashing? Is it considered brainwashing? Like,
Is it brainwashing if they like it?
if they like it,
If they ask for it?
you introduced it to them very young, and they're like, "Why do I love this?"
So one game I might think that maybe I could turn into an annual tradition. It might be Elden Ring. Now, because I am continuing to adore this game,
Right.
and I even with the best part with the annual tradition is like you wouldn't even need a new game. You could just like probably continue to explore the world because you probably still have not seen
That's right. Yeah.
everything within it. It's just ridiculous. And even too, you hear when you start to go down the rabbit hole with Elden Ring, people talking about, well, with this build, I did it full intelligence and dexterity, or I did it with strength, or this time I'm a samurai.
Yeah.
Like there's so many ways to approach it that it's once you're in the lore, once you're in the world, away it goes. Everything they've ever said about it being difficult is absolutely true. And it's too difficult for me.
Oh, no.
It is. So I cheated.
Oh.
So Jeff, I cheated.
There you go. You have the admission of guilt.
Oh man, I don't regret it for 1 second. I don't do. I'll tell you what happened. So like I've always had this arrow in my quiver
Okay.
because we had a sponsor for the show. Some people might remember from Plitch.tv. It is a piece of software you can download for free for a bunch of games, and then you can just pay if you want some additional cheats for certain games, and install it, and then just add whatever you want to your game. In Elden Ring's case, you can mess with whatever levels you want. You can give yourself however many runes you want. You can actually make it harder on yourself too.
That's what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Yeah, sure. So the point where I was at is I was trying to get through a boss, and not even the boss, even the first Stormvale Castle, the very first castle. I beat the first boss by myself.
Okay. Is that Marguerite? I think
Marguerite, yeah. I'm very proud of myself.
That's very good. That's a good accomplishment. Let's just pause and congratulate you. Can we get some cheering sound effects happening?
So I called in you can call in golden people to help you. I had to call that person in. I had to call in wolves. Like I was in the back just throwing knives trying to survive. It was not glorious in the slightest.
Okay, but you did it. Okay.
But I did.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But then I continued through the castle and I just kept dying. And it's just with normal knights, and I just couldn't figure it out, and I'd slam down and do it. Kept dying. Okay, so I got to level up a little bit. I got to get going here. And I was already at a decent level. Like I was at the level I probably should have been. Could have been a little more powerful. And it's like, all right, well, it's time to grind. There's an exploit in this game, Jeff, where you can go to, I think it's called like the Pierced Veil, and you run down a mountain cliff, and then giant balls appear
Okay.
that proceed to hurl themselves off the mountain.
Okay.
And when they do, you get 1,000 runes.
Oh, that will help. That's okay.
So I'm sitting there, Jeff, and I'm running back and forth, having giant balls fly past me as I'm trying to level up and just grind it out. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? What am I proving to anybody? I have so many things to play. I have so little time, and I have giant balls just flying at my character that I have to avoid to level up my characters. So I gave up. I was like, all right, I'm cheating. I'm
That's
just
it,
gonna
eh?
again
Called
the
it
cheat. I could sit here and burst my time in. This is a terrible lesson for my sons in some ways. It's more like if it's just something not worthwhile, then it's just like don't be like value you. How much do you value your time?
Yeah.
Is guess what I'm asking. And I just at this juncture with the age my current kids are in, I don't got time for it. But I want to keep going because I do love the world. So I might have overdone it. Because I'm like, I don't know. I guess like this is enough runes, and I guess this will be enough levels. And I'm kind of just traipsing through, and all of a sudden things are a little bit easier. This is great.
Yeah.
I one-shotted Godfrey.
Okay, that's really leveled up.
That's a bit too. I did that. And I felt so dejected. I felt so dirty. I'm like, that's okay. Come on, I wanted it to be easier. I didn't want God mode.
Okay, but like the stage to that fight is like this orchestral music and like this, the vocal choir kicks in. You're like, this is going to be the battle of the lifetime, and you're just like,
like boink. Don't know. Even worse, it wasn't even me. I wasn't even the guy that got the final blow because like you can call in another golden summon,
Right.
and my golden summon just ran up, one shot it up, and I'm just standing on the side like, oh no, what
Slow
was this?
clapping. You're like, I did it. I did it.
It's like I feel accomplished.
Wow.
Now I'll say so. As I would continue on to other places, I think I got like the perfect leveling, honestly, because I then went to another spot and I was like, I had to actually start drinking potions again. Like I was actually getting like low in health.
Okay.
So it's not like I'm level 5,000, but it was just like I will support it. I almost just wish they had it in the game where they had like an easy mode or they had like a beginner's mode or even like God of War now has like a story mode. Where it's
Yes.
like, look, the mechanics are so cool. The world is amazing.
Yeah.
Like just enjoy it. Like get in here and like explore and see everything you could see. It's been amazing since. I have no regret besides that one fight, which was really left me crestfallen, like and feeling filthy for what I had done. The rest of it's leveled out, and now I have no regrets.
Yeah. But this is what we're talking about, and this is what a lot of the conversation or discourse about this and, difficulty options and, the vision of the developer, blah, blah, blah. Which, yeah, fine, great. But, for someone that wants to experience the world, and I want you to experience the rest of this game because it is really cool and the artwork in it is amazing. It's just like you have to give opportunities to others to experience it how they want to. And really, it's just a mode select. So if it's a story mode, you don't have to do that. And you can have your bragging rights doing it on hard or
Super
hard,
hard,
new game
super
plus
extreme,
hard.
yeah.
Yeah. And go for it. Or even have the trophies pop for those difficulty levels if you really want to be stingy about it. But it's just something that, will prevent you from playing this game or Elden Ring 2 or the DLC because you're like, I don't want to, I can't spend my time doing this chasing
it's
after
like
balls down a hill.
It's like, yeah, I get it. I gotta get good. That
Yes.
requires like
Yeah.
1,000 deaths, like 200 hours. I can't. I don't want to. I want to be here because I want to see this, but
Yeah.
I don't. So like I said, I had no regrets about it, but man, like that killing Godfrey in one shot was certainly.
Yeah, that'll bring it down a bit. You're like, oh, no, a
that's-
little too much.
This isn't fun. Let's just dial back that power a little bit. But what a great game! Like I would recommend it for dads. Honestly, like they had sponsored the show, not a current sponsor, but friends of the show just the same. In Plitch.tv, it's got me playing, and I think I will beat Elden Ring. You beat Elden Ring legitimately, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it does take a long time. I think at the end of it was 90 hours.
Yeah, yowzer.
So over, I don't know how many months what it was, but yeah, it will take a substantial amount of time. So if you level up, maybe cut that in half. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I can see your face. You're like, ooh, can't do that.
Problem, I think the problem would be now that I've already cracked this open is that if I get to a boss that just completely, you start to fight some bosses and at some point it's not. If I just fight better, I can win this. And some points you're just completely getting crushed. It's like, okay, I either become an absolute master at this game or I level up another like nth degree so I can handle it. You basically reach a pain threshold.
Yes.
And I think if I get to that again, and it's just like, well, we're jacking up another 20 levels. Let's go.
yeah. And Elden Ring will tell you too, right? You'll walk into an area and you're like, whoa, I wasn't supposed to be here. And we're up in our rune level.
Yeah. And a couple extra levels for me. Thank
Yeah.
you. Now, I will say this had me legitimately, it wasn't rage quit, but I don't know that I felt this angry at a game for a while. Because you had so many runes, you were fighting so hard to get some place, then you die with what feels like a real cheap blow.
Right.
Right. So just like I remember just like kind of I will punch my own fist like, oh, come on. Which
Yep.
segues to our next story about angry dads. So this is a weird one. I'm going to invoke as much gaming dad patience as possible for the audience as we kind of work through this together. Arrived at a weird place, and I think in our conversation, Jeff, you've had somewhat of a similar thing.
Yeah.
So what had happened, so I got angry at my sons and tore a strip off them. Like just like yelled this kind of just basically told them off in a very like loud assertive way. I don't want to say yelling because it's like I was yelling at my kids. Like that's not quite the right tenor of it. It was like I was tearing a strip off them. I was getting them in trouble. like very pointedly, because I was super upset with them about what they were doing.
Yeah.
And the weird thing as we came about, though, is that I have no regrets about it.
Yeah.
I can remember like once or twice I'd lost my temper with my kids, and I felt awful about it, because in that case, stress from work, bad situation, it was me losing my cool.
Right.
And it was more about me being angry than it was about any grander kind of like guidance of a parent. This time, like, they deserved it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel no remorse for doing it. Like, I think back on it, it's like, yeah, they deserved that. Like, they needed that.
Yep.
Because what I was thinking through, and I'm curious your thoughts on it, is just they need to have boundaries. Like, they need to have limits. Like, there is lines that you don't cross. And they were causing fuss. They were not acting properly. We were going to be late for school. We were late for school because of their actions. So, all because of terrible decisions that they had made, like just one after one after one after one. And it felt like they were just crossing that line where it's like, no, we're not buddies. This isn't like a playroom game. I'm your father. She's your mother. You have to get your stuff in order. Let's go.
Yeah.
And they weren't respecting that. So this, like, tearing a strip off them, like, I felt no, I don't feel any remorse for it. Like, it was just a representation of, this is the line. This is the relationship. You don't cross this. I love you as much. I love you more than anything in the world, but you don't cross this line because you have to be a good human.
Right.
It's like how's that sit for you? Have you found similar scenario to this one?
Yeah, definitely. There is a boundary of respect in this house, and they have to uphold their end of the bargain, and they will be
Yeah.
treated with respect, right? And that whole reciprocal respect has to happen in this family household. Otherwise, it doesn't. Like, there's going to be issues, right? So there has been many boundaries crossed, and we let them know when they cross it. We do give them like a warning shot.
A shot across the bow.
Basically.
Yeah.
And being kids, they push to see how far they can get, and that's when you lay down the hammer, and that's the rule. We've had conversations about that, and then they get I don't know about yours, but mine turn on the waterworks and they get upset, and we have to do the 5-finger breathing to calm them down, and it's a longer conversation, which we are, as parents, are happy to have with them. But we always remind them that we don't have to get into this deep conversation about, where your feelings are at and what the attitude was. If you just pump the brakes a little bit, realize that you have overstepped, because it's not like a mystery. You understand the rules of this house, right? It's like you can't play dumb, right? We know when you're trying to trick us. So we can avoid all that if you just, again, circle back and say, whoa, I made a mistake, because we're always open to you stopping the conversation and saying, I made a mistake, I want to take it back, apologize or make it right is usually what we say, right? But yeah, mine will, especially on this long weekend, like stuff where, you have that extra day, school's not, the routine is kind of messed up, but we're still trying to keep routine. They push and push and push on what they can get away with, and it's still like they still have weekend chores that they need to do, and they still need to be kind to each other, and you can tell when they kind of grate on each other's nerves, and then they are not awful human beings, but they're not being kind to anyone, right? And you can't have that. So much like you were saying, like, lay down the law, and that's just what we're there to guide them. So we're just trying to make them better humans. We're not trying to, we don't want to get them in trouble, so to speak. It's like we're guiding you to be a better person, and we're just trying to keep you on that path. It's like that, a level in a video game, right? We want you to pump it into those attributes so that you can level up and one hit Godfrey, right? Like, it's just we want you to be that kind of person where it's,
I don't know if I should have told you that, because I feel like that's going to keep coming back to haunt me.
it really is. It's going to.
It's very funny, because you and I, like, we're very much aligned, because that's something I say to my kids all the time, that, like, you're part of this family. Like, we're all a working part of this family, which means we have, like, roles, responsibilities, and roles and things to do. And if you're not doing your fair share of that, like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I want you to have time to unwind and have fun and explore and be creative and, like, goof off and all that great stuff. Like, I will create that environment for you. But it also is, when it comes time, you have to eat your dinner. Like, you have to go to bed. You have to go to school on time. You have to do your homework. Like, that. Those are your responsibilities as an active member of this household. Like, that's on you. Like, that's your part of it. And if you're not fulfilling your role in this family, and that's, like, untenable. You can't do that. I'll say this. So unfortunately, in the midst of my tirade a back in my day, an official unplanned back in my day did slip.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're there. You're there.
yeah, it
Again, big
happened. I'm
year for
turning
you. You're
turning
doing
40. So so this one, and my brother who listens will probably appreciate this. The one of the sons, amongst everything else he was doing, like the last thing for him that was causing us to be late is that one of his shirts, because he was tugging on it, was now like a little bit too long. So it was encroaching on his hand.
a lot. Right.
And for this reason, we're going to be late for school. For this reason, he can't like pack his lunch. For this reason, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, it's not that act itself.
Right.
It's that act amongst everything else. And also, I know that's not an issue because you do that to your shirts all the time. So you're just presenting this as an issue to make the rest of everything go bad.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, you know, it's like, what was my line? I exaggerate. It's like I didn't have clothes that fit until I was an adult. Because my brother was huge. And I got his hand-me-downs and it was down to my knees. And I went to school like that until I was an adult.
That is such a classic back in my day. I walked uphill both ways.
It's half true. My brother was a giant, and I got my hand-me-down, so a lot of my shirts like went down to my knees. Like they were just, we're not going to buy new clothes, so you're just going to wear his clothes. I don't care that he's 6 sizes too big.
Right.
So I was like, I wore clothes down to my knees till I was an adult. So it was like, and I was telling the whole story to my friend. He's like, did you legitimately give a back in my day? Like, oh no, I did.
Now the gates open, right? Now those are all gonna flood out. Next conversation. Back in my day. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The
Wow,
Metroids were super. The Sonics were tight. And we went to school on time.
Back in my day, we didn't have any saved states. What are you
Oh my
doing?
God. We didn't have any cheats. I couldn't just cheat to beat Elden Ring. Now look at.
Game Boy ran on batteries. After that, you couldn't plug it into a wall. You were done. That's it.
Now you're playing with power. Ah! just so okay. So I found it very funny because like I said, I previously felt bad about it when I was at fault, and I always make sure to apologize. In fact, too, explain that like I was angry, didn't mean to be angry. I'm sorry, because one thing I always want to do is make sure that if I'm in the wrong, not be too proud.
Vulnerability, right? You have to show them that they can do that, right? So yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But not this time. They damn well deserved it.
They needed it. Course correct.
I will say, like not to like relish the situation, but I will say, like the quiet resignation to just do anything you say for the next 2 days is kind of delicious. It's kind of nice. Yeah. Like once you've laid that, like torn that strip off, to like, ooh, we better just fly right for a few days and keep under the radar.
Yeah, go get your clothes on for school. They're already on, like teeth are already brushed, hair is like combed like a sailor cut. Like,
here's a coffee. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's my house now. Back in my day,
I beat Elden Ring for you, Dad.
How dare you? Did you use the cheats? No, we don't want to be like you. Oh. What kind of example? All right. We'll wrap it up there. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. Do you have your own strip tearing scenario like that? Do you agree with us, disagree with us? Do you have your own cheat scenario with a game that you wanted to play and decided just to buck the trend, get in there and enjoy the game you wanted to? Do you have an annual game to play through that you do every time? Is that a situation you have with the kids? We love to hear about all this stuff. One of the best parts about the podcast is the interaction with the other dads. So we'd love to hear from you at newdadgaming.com or our website, newdadgaming.com. If you like the podcast, you can find us on all of the major networks. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Caster, Google Play, anywhere where you get your podcast. Just search for New Dad Gaming. If you like the show, what really helps, makes it honestly a very big difference to the signal for the show, is if you do subscribe and if you leave a rating or a comment. It really helps us get the word out to other gaming dads out there. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Just remember, everybody, just because you became a dad
does not mean it's game over.
See you next week.
See ya.